you your headphones?
The headphones are up there. But I could hear you like 5 minutes ago, so I doubt that's changed.
All right, I don't, I don't want us to be, since you've moved, do you need this?
I don't think so.
All right, okay.
I trust it.
All right. Yeah, I trust it. The last time I had to wear a mic like this, I had a student in my class who was deaf, but she had cochlear implants or something, so I had to wear a mic so that she could hear me. And it was really cool technology, but I cuss a lot under my breath. And I was not aware of this until I'm like, and she goes, that's what happened. I was like, note to self. All right, this is where we ended last time, looking at examples of syncretism. So what I want to do is look at some other examples of syncretism. The early history of Christianity is full of syncretisms. Many of y'all know the date for Christmas. It was picked because it matched. What other date did this match? It was a festival. Saturnalia Festival. Saturnalian Festival. It was related to the winter solstice, where the sun's dropping low in the sky and starts going back up. So it was related to that. But there's no data in the Christian scriptures that Jesus was born at this time. It was picked, it's syncretism. And you see this in other examples too. There's this beautiful saying from this Pope Gregory the Great, when he was talking about how to get the pagans to come into Christianity. He said, don't tear down their temple, just put a cross on top of them. It's syncretism. That's a great example of syncretism. I think this is great. The days of our week are full of examples of syncretism. So Sunday is from a North Germanic goddess of the sun. Monday is for a moon god. Tuesday is Tweesday for the Norse god of combat. Wednesday is related to the planet Mercury. This is cool. But all of our days have these sort of pagan things. What about our months? Do they have anything here about this? You ever studied why our months are called what they are? January comes from, Janus, a two-faced god from the Roman Empire. So it's like you're looking backwards and forwards. March, how do you think March got its name? March, yeah, it's when people would go to war. It's when they would march. Because you can't fight in the wintertime. See, July is obviously from who? Julius Caesar. August. Caesar Augustus, yeah. And then we have some months which are just named for the number they were in the Roman calendar, like October was the 8th. What?
Is December one? What is that?
10. I don't know.
No, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it would have been the
I have to figure, I don't know where December got its name. I have to check, I don't know. Because October is 8th month.
And then November 9th.
December 10th. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I am not a December name expert. You should include that in your review. Easter derives its name from a goddess who was celebrated in April. The word Easter derives its name from this. So we have lots of syncretism even in the Christian religion. And you find this all over the place. This is not a big deal. Just as a question, where's the frame?
It's taking up the entire board.
Okay. That's good to do. What you don't know is that Alex complains that I pace.
You just tend to move off, but you can't do that now, so you're good.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what goes on behind the scenes. She's like, you pace all the time and you go off screen. All right, any questions about the syncretism? So there are also many, many good reasons to conform, right? We look at conformity as a bad thing, but if you start thinking about it, there's good social reasons to conform. There's political reasons to conform, and often economic reasons. If you conform, you often raise your status, right? One of the things that might happen is I don't know if y'all ever had this, you were younger, and you may have had a haircut that was a little risque, and right? And then people are like, oh, if you want to get a job, you need to cut your hair. And when you're young, you're like, oh, my hair is me. And then you go, oh, it's not as me as I thought. All right? So, or the clothing you wear. Survival. Like, I do a lot of hiking and camping. And so one of the things that is of interest to me is, well, how can I use conformity to help me actually survive in the woods? How might I use conformity in this sense? Right, I'm out in the woods. I don't know what I'd eat, but if people go, okay, that's an edible, or I see someone eat something and not die, I'm like, all right. You know, well, I mean, that's what you can do, right? You're like, that's an edible food stuff. Or it can save you a lot of time. This is a good reason to conform. I want to give you some examples of this. Because our culture looks at conformity in a very bad way. We tell people, oh, be an individual. But it's worth pointing out that conformity can do lots of good things. So, for example, let's say we're all going to go hiking. Has anyone been to Walls of Jericho in northeast Alabama? Been there? Beautiful. One, that's it. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it'd be beautiful this time of year. It's absolutely gorgeous. You're hiking down in there. I went a couple of years ago, right after the tornadoes came through. A lot of downed trees. So here we are, me and my friend. We're on the trail. So the trail's coming through here, downed tree. Well, what can we do at this point to find the trail again?
Go around.
So we want to go around, but like, oh, which way? What might be one clue of the way to go around?
Look for a clear path.
It's not a clear path.
No, I mean, like foot marks.
I'm looking to see if other people have found a way around this obstacle. So this can save me a lot of time so that I can go, all right, how do I get past this? Well, I look to see the marks that other people have done on the presumption is they've probably found the easiest way to do this. And this is a very nice thing to do. If you ever get a chance to go, I just want to show you some pictures. It's absolutely beautiful when you get down in there. These don't even do it a lot of justice. That's when I carried a fanny pack with me hiking. We called it the Aqua Belt, but it's really very pretty. They're like, you are a nerd. So this is very useful. So we're going to see that conformity is going to be a powerful social pressure. People are going to conform. And it's going to allow me to predict your behavior because I'm going to be able to go, well, what is the cultural norm? And the cultural norm is going to exert a pull on your behavior.
Oh, I was actually just putting that in my phone.
Oh.
Walls of Jericho. So
The Walls of Jericho? Oh, well, now I feel awful.
That's exactly what I put in there.
Yeah.
I know. Oh. Now, all right. I sort of feel mixed now. What's the proper response? You shouldn't be using your phone, or yeah, you're going to go to the Walls of Jericho. Oh. I'm sorry, mister, I have no paper and pencil out.
Yeah.
You're on camera now, man. All right, how do societies encourage conformity? What are some things that cultures do? Well, we reward people who follow the cultural norm, right? So if you follow the cultural norm, we say to you that, we're going to give you a promotion, we're going to give you a raise, we're going to give you a little gold sticker, candy, or whatever, and we punish people who don't conform. Whether with social ostracism, or, we're going to fire you if you're not conforming. We do lots of things to get people to conform. So governments write laws to encourage people to conform, right? So it's February 6th. Is that true? Oh, 8th. I don't even know. Look, I'm lucky to be here. Forget, right? So it's February 8th. So in 2 months, our government has set up, or 2 months and a week, has set up a day where they're like, you need to do what? By April 15th, you need to pay your taxes, right? We're like, oh, you have to pay your taxes. That's one of the ways we encourage people. How do our tax codes influence conformity? The tax code, right? We give tax breaks if you buy a house versus rent, right? So we as a society encourage people to get a mortgage versus having an apartment. That's one way. Or we give various breaks for marriage versus being single. So that's where your tax code can try and encourage conformity. It's weird to think about it that way, but we do. We encourage you to engage in certain behaviors by giving you tax cuts, tax breaks, and so forth. We're going to look at some other ways that societies do this. One way societies do this is with their laws. I want to tell you about one of my favorite people in history. This was probably one of the greatest scholars in his day. He knew half dozen languages. He was certainly the best Hebrew scholar of his day. He knew a half dozen languages, and he knew Greek and Latin and German and English. And he was ultimately betrayed and executed by someone who he was betrayed by someone he thought was a friend, and then executed by a government. So here he is being tied to a pyre, strangled, his body then burned. Anyone recognize this man by face and know what his crime was? What do you think someone would be tied to a pyre, strangled, and killed for? A guy like this.
Going against the church?
What? He went against the church, but he went against the church in a very particular way. He went against the church by translating the Bible into English. It used to be against the law, on penalty of death, to own a copy of the Bible in English. That was his crime. This is a man named William Tyndale. He's one of the first people to translate from the Bible from Greek into the native tongues. So we often don't think of the church as a major political power outside of a history class, but it really should be thought of in that way. For thousands of years, the Roman Catholic Church was a political force, and they're still a political force today. And so it's worth going, what things did they do to encourage conformity? So they didn't just kill Tyndale. Tyndale's not a one-off person. They killed others. They tortured others. I read this wonderful biography on William Tyndale, and they would just, and honest, I really hate to make the comparison, especially since I'm on tape, but I will anyway. If you read the biography on how Bibles were smuggled into England, it looks like drug smuggling today. They would hide sheets of the Bible in the midst of other stuff, and then they would sneak them into England and then put them back together to make a whole Bible.
I thought it was ever too much. That'd be a lot of work.
What? It was people wanted to read the Bible. People wanted to be able to see what it actually said. And it's really weird. If you go through that time period, you're like, let me see if I understand this correctly. You were doing what? Right? You can get a Bible anywhere now. Go to any hotel room. And that hand it out, you know, you can probably get it online. So it's really weird that this was against the law. So it was for a period it was illegal under the pain of death to have a copy of the Bible in English. Why would the church have done this?
So they could say that it said whatever they wanted it to say.
Or you would have to depend on them for the interpretation, versus if you could read it yourself.
You can
Yeah. And he got in a lot of trouble. Like, really, if you go through more of the details, he got in a lot of trouble because he translated several words in ways that were more accurate, but went against the church's teachings. So, for example, instead of saying do penance, he said repent. He translated a Greek word metanoio as repent. And you think, well, why would that make a big difference? Right? If I repent, what?
You didn't have to pay.
I don't have to pay if I just repent, right? Plus, if I repent, I might just go, I'm really sorry I got on to you, though you shouldn't have your phone out. Versus I have to do penance, right? Someone may benefit financially out of this. So, worth looking at. And indeed, if you want to have a general principle, and I actually will give the sociologist full credit for this one, where when I first took my first sociology class, and I'm sitting there and I went, oh my gosh. I remember the professor talking, and it was like, well, those in power write the laws to keep them in power. And you start going, really, is that true? Then you start going, well, who's most likely to be arrested and convicted? Is it the dominant groups or the minority groups? Yeah, minority groups. And you sort of start going through and you look at really strange laws and you're like, why are we building more prisons, for example? That's actually one that y'all really should be concerned about, this private prison industry. Because if you think about it, for a private prison, what's in their best interest in regards to the legal system.
Have more
It's to
prisoners.
have, what?
More things
To
against
have
the
more
law.
criminals, have more laws that more people can break. And you actually read some of their documents, and they're actually pushing for tougher penalties because it helps their bottom line. This is something that really should concern you. So in other later lectures, we're going to see that legal and illegal are really cultural constructions. And of course, one of the battles we're fighting in our society is in regards to a substance that many people believe is safe and good, but is nonetheless very illegal in our current political system. Of course, that is the English Bible. No, it's not the English Bible. It's not the English Bible anymore, but it is, of course, our drug laws. And so this is one of the battles that we're fighting, going, well, how does one change the political climate, or what, Emily?